Hello, my friends, and welcome back to the Best on Wellbeing podcast. Today, I want to continue the discussion of oneness because like I said last time, I really feel that it's the essence of true well-being. That as much as we can try to optimize our lives and optimize, our overall situation and health and things like that, the essence of well-being, the true core of it, comes from the recognition of the sense of unity and oneness. And I want to relate that to the idea of love and unconditional love. Sometimes the idea of unconditional love seems almost too radical, too excessive, not realistic, not a human thing. Like, we are imperfect humans, obviously. We are these sort of very limited creatures, that we have a lot of negative emotions. A lot of people out there do very bad things. Not most people, but some that do very bad things. And therefore, unconditional love is this sort of pie in the sky idea that how can you love murderers? How can you truly love people that hurt children and things like that? What kind of, it's almost weird. Like, it's almost a sick idea to love some evil person. And so what is this thing that we consider unconditional love? And the realization of unconditional love is a term, I believe, in the Christian faith, that they call it salvation. When someone is saved by the love of Jesus, if I can just paraphrase the Christians a little bit, they are saved. They found salvation because they have learned the love of Jesus in their hearts, meaning they've developed their capacity to love unconditionally, and therefore they are saved. Their soul is saved, or another way of saying it, they've accessed a source of well-being by being able to love unconditionally. They have found salvation. And unconditional love, in my view, becomes accessible, or let's call it possible, when we come from the view of unity and oneness. Because when you truly go in this direction, when you truly begin to erode the idea of me, a separate me, being fundamental, the fundamental reality is there's a little Guillaume, and that's it. And that guy is going to die, and life is scary. But when we begin to erode that concept in our minds, and we'll talk about in next episodes, some ways to kind of erode this construct of a me as this ultimate reality. Now, it doesn't mean that we don't honor the me or the personality, that we don't honor it and we don't be nice to it, and we don't, it's not about being mean to ourselves or disparaging this sense of separateness that we experience naturally, of a separate body, this embodied existence, let's say. That we want to honor it. We want to be kind to it. But if we live as though it's the only reality, that it's the only true reality, then life is a lot scarier. And there's ways to begin to feel the sense of unity, where your own sense of who you are is more than your individual personality. That, again, I'm going to sound a little weird here, folks, but you are the universe. You are everything. I am everything, and everything is me. And those are sort of the words to start pointing at, these sort of mantras to start pointing at the idea of a unified reality or oneness. Words are tricky when we get to this sort of stage of our exploration of well-being. But when we begin to sort of sense the essence, the shared essence, this shared oneness, the shared unity, it's an essence. It's not really like this necessarily. I mean, it can be very pleasant to be in that space, and it can be a very enjoyable experience. But it's not in a typical sense of emotional love, like an embrace of lovers, or, necessarily holding your child in your arms that you care about. I mean, those are wonderful, wonderful things. But it's not exactly what I'm pointing at when we talk about feeling the oneness, to feel the essence, that my essence, what is fundamentally me. And there's different ways to conceptualize it, but like the energy between the atoms, that compose my entire being is the exact same energy of everything else. The energy that is between the atoms of a tree is the exact same type of energy that is the energy between the atoms that make up my body and all my cognitive functions and everything. And it's the same thing with every other human and every other animal and every other thing out there. We share the same essence. And when we can just try to just chill in this moment sometimes and really just, there's no way to conceptualize it. You just kind of feel it. You just start to feel it. And you can start to feel it sometimes with other people, that you see somebody else or something else and you can get a sense. It's more of a feeling than a thought, although thoughts can help sometimes to point us in that direction. And we'll, like I said, we'll look at some different useful thoughts for that. But you can start to feel it, like I feel the same, the essence that composes me is the same essence as what composes the other. And I think that's where we start to touch the idea of unconditional love. Because you can, when you care about yourself and you can sense that the very fundamental aspect of your own self is the same as the fundamental aspect of another person, then there's love seems to emerge. Like you can accept them and love them the way they are. And it gets to the point where you can begin to do that with people who are very dysfunctional, very, we can call them sick, people who do bad things, very evil things. And, I think it was Gandhi that said, hate the sin, not the sinner. In other words, we're not here to condone or excuse very dysfunctional behaviors. That's certainly not what's recommended here. But you can still get a sense that even the worst person in the world, you share the same essence. You are unified with them too. And then the ability to almost a feeling, we'll call it love or unconditional love. It doesn't mean like, you'll go to the ends of the world to help the worst person in the world. Like, these things will happen on their own. Some people have been called to go to prisons and work with very antisocial people and help them transform themselves. There's people that have been called to that kind of work, and that's a beautiful thing. We're not all called to that. So it's not to have a standard behavior here. I'm not recommending a standard behavior, but I'm saying it's an experience, a feeling, a sense of connection that you can feel literally, that in a certain weird way, you and the bad person are one. You will share the same essence. It is you are in him or her, and she is in you. Like the essence that composes that person is the same that composes you. And that's a tricky thing for people sometimes. And I'm not saying this is always an easy direction, but there's a tremendous depth and well of well-being that emerges when we begin to really apply ourselves to that sense of unity and the sense of unconditional love, that you can actually love anything because you are everything. And that's a good thing. And that's all I'm going to say for today. I'm going to try to keep it short, these episodes, folks. Thank you very much. We're going to continue these conversations and more on oneness next time.